We are now doing Notes 10, Graphing Inequalities. So I have the directions at the top there, 1 through 6, to graph inequalities. First, we will rewrite the problem with an equal sign. Then we will solve the equation for y equals mx plus b, and we'll write whatever the m is and write whatever the b is. And then we will use a dashed line for the less than or greater than, and we will use a solid line for the less than or equal to, or the greater than or equal to. Then we'll draw our line. We'll choose a point that's not on the line, and usually we choose 0, 0 if that's not on the line. And then we'll sub in our chosen point for x and for y into the original problem and check to see if the statement is true or false. If it's true, we shade on the same side of the point, so we shade over the 0, 0. If it's false, then we shade on the other side of the 0, 0. So I have parts 1 through 4 here where we can see them, and then part 5 will be the actual graphing. So number 1 was to rewrite our inequality with an equal sign. Our step number 2 was to solve the equation for y equals mx plus b. This one is already solved for y equals mx plus b. So we're ready to write our m, which is -3. And because we are graphing, let's make it a fraction, which means that we'll go down 3 and to the right 1. And our y-intercept, or our b, is the 2. So this is where our slope comes from. This is where our y-intercept comes from. This is also called the slope, also called the y-intercept. So then to decide if it's dashed or solid, we look at our original sign, which was a greater than, so this will be a dashed line. And now we are going to use the test point to see how we are going to shade. So I go back to the original. Y is greater than -3 plus 2. I'm going to put a 0 in for the y and a 0 in for the x. And so now I have 0 is greater than 2. And that is a false statement. So when we shade, we will shade away from the 0, 0. So let's go ahead and graph. So I'm going to move this up so you can see the grid. And remember that our m was -3 over 1. And the b was 2. We always start graphing on the y-axis. So +2 is up 2 on the y-axis. And then our slope tells us to go down 1, 2, 3 to the right 1, down 3 to the right 1. And remember, we need a dashed line. So there is my dashed line. And then I need to shade away from the 0, 0. Well, here is my 0, 0. So because the statement was false, I shade away from the 0, 0. So in other words, on the other side of the line. So I shade this way. And that is example 1.